On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, it's beginning to look a lot like madness everywhere you watch college basketball. Trey Holloman at the buzzer at Maryland. Michigan State gets a massive win against Maryland. Obviously, these are the two teams that I would say it's those two and maybe Wisconsin as teams that you could actually believe in, the horses you would want to back in the Big Ten. And Michigan State has Big Ten title, regular season title aspirations, not only because they want to win it, but they want to keep Michigan from winning it. And this was the game. This was kind of the game that everyone had circled as like they're going to have to get past that one if they really want to take this thing seriously. Still work to be done, but oh my God, what a great game, even though it was kind of disgusting. Great defense from both teams. Michigan State, this is what they do. They were guarding Maryland's bigs very well. It was sloppy at times. It was ugly at times, but Trey Holloman makes up for the bad pass, the terrible foul call, and then hits an iconic shot, which, like, I don't know what it is about these two teams, but there's Corey Lucius back in the day in the NCAA tournament. Cassius Winston hit a half quarter. That one was at the end of the first half, though. Hit a half quarter in College Park once upon a time. But yeah, Trey Holloman for the win, and he does it at a time where like we needed it as a sport. We didn't need it, but like it is funny how as the calendar's about to turn to March, like these moments just start popping up.
That might have been a foreshadowing right there. Is that a hey, March is in 4 days? And this is about to be
March is absolutely in 4 days. Meanwhile, you get Arkansas. Texas was a crazy game that goes into overtime. Vanderbilt gets a massive win. Texas A&M was kind of falling apart a little bit. That game took forever, by the way. World record. It was so fun. I don't know how many people were watching that. But the commentators in the A&M Vanderbilt game for the last, it was the last like 2.5 minutes of game time, but it ended up being like 45 minutes of real time. They spent the entire time just basically, and I was with them, but they were just like basically bitching about how long this game was taking. They're just like, God damn it, another timeout from Buzz Williams. Oh my God. And would you look at that? Another review. Here we go. That game took forever, but Vanderbilt gets a massive win. They're a bubble team that got a huge road win. Kentucky, Otega Owe on the road at Oklahoma against his former team scores the final 18 points for Kentucky. Hits the game winner, gets the game sealing block. What a crazy game that was. You had earlier in the week Houston has how many hands on the Big 12 trophy now? They've basically clinched it at this point. Basically, get the huge win at Texas Tech. Elsewhere in the Big 12, Iowa State is they're banged up. I understand they're not at full strength, but bad loss at Oklahoma State. Michigan, Nebraska set the sport back at least a couple of decades. But that was a close game. That was exciting, you know. And then Tyrese Proctor got hurt for Duke. That's the other big news in the world of college basketball. But there is chaos everywhere. There is madness everywhere. And the calendar is March is almost here. Saturday will be March 1st. And so to celebrate that, to get excited for that, I thought I would do something a little different on the show today. We're doing a Pulse of the Office type thing where I brought in a handful of people that work here in the Chicago office who are college basketball fans that have teams that they've been following all year that are very, very into their teams. Some of them are cheering for teams that have national title aspirations. Some of them are cheering for teams that just want to make the tournament. Some of them are cheering, well, at least one of them is cheering for a team that probably has zero shot of making the tournament, but it was a noteworthy team nonetheless. And I just thought it'd be a fun way to, as the calendar is turning to March and people are getting excited about college basketball, get a pulse of what the people around here are feeling about each one of their teams.
It's a fun show.
It is a fun show. So we have we're going to bop around, talk to, Big Cat about Wisconsin, and Big T came on to talk about Tennessee, and Brandon Walker, and White Boy Rick and his Hoosiers. I won't spoil the rest of them. They're a lot of fun coworkers coming on talking about their teams. But yeah, it is. March will be here on Saturday. It is the best time of year, and this sport just has a way of delivering as the sport knows. I'll just put it that way. Like, it knows. I genuinely believe that if Michigan State and Maryland were playing in early January, Trey Holloman airballs that shot by
Yeah.
By like he throws it over
Trey
the backboard.
Holloman's shot. That was a groundhog situation.
But they know. The sport knows. The ball goes in. You get the surrender cobras. Is that what they call it? We need a better name for that.
I hate that.
I don't like the name, but you got to say that because that's when you say it, everyone knows what you're talking about. That's what it's called. I don't really love the name, but yeah, the Maryland student sections. Shout out to them, by the way. We're not going to spend a lot of time like talking about the stuff that happened this week because the show is so there's so many people we talk to, and the show is long enough as is. So I just wanted to get this in. Shout out to the Maryland student section. Shout out to the crowd there last night. It was fucking bonkers. Mm-hmm. It was so awesome. They cut the SVP at one point. He's like, "Let's go! Let's fucking go!" The place was absolutely bumping, and it felt like it was going to be Maryland's time. And Trey Holloman said, "Not so fast." But yeah, college basketball it's the fucking best, man. It's been such an awesome year, and this tournament this month is going to be so good. But I wanted to get a read for how people are feeling about their teams and about the sport as a whole. So we got a little smorgasbord of Barstool employees chiming in about their favorite college basketball teams. Please enjoy. All right, Big Cat is here. His Wisconsin Badgers are having, is it fair to say, a surprise season? Is this a little bit of a surprise?
I don't know if surprise. I think it's a renaissance. By the way, I want to say this week has been a little crazy because we went down to Indy for the Combine. We were down there for like 24 hours, kind of one of those, like, when you do a trip that quick, you kind of don't remember what day it is. Like I thought all day yesterday was Thursday because you're just you don't have any sense of time because you're just like in and out. I had forgotten that I told you I would come on today. And the hoops were so good on Wednesday night, I was going to do the thing like when you had a crush on a girl in 6th grade and you're like, let me walk outside of her math class and hope I make eye contact with her. So I was literally going to come here this morning and just hope that you guys be like, hey, Dan, you want to talk some hoops? So, and then I walked in and Cody was like, you ready to talk some hoops? I was like, me? Yeah? I am. In fact, I am.
That was crazy last night. Last night was it is like obviously I'm having all these people come on because March is Saturday. Saturday is the calendar turns to March. It is fucking bonkers how the sport knows it's almost March.
Yes,
it's crazy that if Michigan State plays at Maryland a month ago, that Trey Holloman doesn't hit that half court shot.
Right.
But they're like we need those moments to be like, oh yeah, it's almost March, and it is crazy how
and the Oklahoma game, Kentucky game was great.
That was awesome.
The Texas Arkansas game was great. I was watching Temple, South Florida. The kid, I think his name is Zion Stanford, I think is actually his name. He 3 South Florida guys blocked him for a buzzer beater, but because all 3 blocked him, it carried all their momentum past him, and he just picked the ball back up and shot it and hit it with no time left. I was just like, it does. You're right, exactly. It feels the sport knows it's March.
It knows it's March. Yeah, it somehow knows.
But the Badgers, and I have other notes after that.
Talk to me about the Badgers. This is not your father's, your grandfather's Wisconsin basketball team. They play fast. They shoot threes.
Unless your father or grandfather went to University of Wisconsin in 2014 and 2015.
Yeah.
When they had a good offense.
Well, this team's even like different. Like they play so fast and they're hunting threes in a way that like that team wasn't.
Yeah, the 2014-2015 Final Four teams were running Bo Ryan's offense.
Yeah, you still had like Bronson Koenig posting up and shit.
They just had really skilled players. The National Player of the Year and Frank Kaminsky. This team is running a different offense. It's credit to Kirk Penny, who played for the Badgers and had a career overseas in Australia. He was Tony Bennett's advisor after they lost to UMBC, helped them a little bit. Now he's helping. He's been with us, I think, 2 years. The offense looks totally different. We're jacking up threes. And Steemsma on the staff, who's a former Badger, like Greg Gard. I've had a complicated relationship with him because I liked that we like kept it in house and is like, hey, Wisconsin's going to have this consistent program forever. But he's had a couple of years. He hasn't had success in March, but he's adapted, and showing that he can adapt is huge. And like. I guess this season, you have to say this season actually started, the success of this season and where I think this team can go, which we can talk about, started when Kansas and Bill Self started tampering with AJ Storr in February last year. And that team fell off of the cliff. And then they kind of rebounded a little. Obviously, they made a run in the Big Ten tournament, beat Edey in his last Big Ten game. People don't forget. But flamed out in the tournament against James Madison. And AJ Storr going to Kansas and averaging 2 points a game for $1 million was the best thing that could have happened for this team. Because obviously we wanted him back.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford him. And it turns out a guy who, no offense to AJ Storr, but it turns out a guy who's played for 7 different teams in 7 years, dating back to high school. It might be him, not the team.
Right.
So, and then getting, Tanjay, who's just been, he's like 1 million years old. I don't care. I hope they sue for more eligibility.
I'm stunned at how good he is.
Yeah.
Because he was on Missouri last year. Was hurt. Didn't really play much. Where was he from before that? Colorado State or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
He went to Colorado State, and then this guy came out of nowhere. The first big Cody, are you looking it up?
Colorado State.
Yeah, and
4 years.
He's also he
played 4 years at Colorado State?
He didn't play much his freshman year, but this is his 6th year college.
He played 4 years at Colorado State.
Yeah, and he's very old. He's very old. But he adds, I've always said this, the Badgers are always going to have a certain style of roster. Outside of the fact that they've changed their offense, they're always going to have a couple big white dudes from either Minneapolis area, suburb over there, or Wisconsin, and they stay in the program for 5 years. And Stephen Crowell, I'm talking about Nolan Winter as well. And they play fundamental basketball, and they're always kind of there. And then we always have a couple guards who can play in a system. When Wisconsin is good and can reach that next level is when they have a guy who can make his own shot, and that's what he does.
And that's Tanjay,
yeah, right. So it's it's a Johnny Davis. And I know that we haven't had success in these situations that I'm saying right now, but it's a Johnny Davis, it's AJ Storr, it's a Frank Kaminsky or Sam Decker. When you have these guys who can do it on themselves, and when you get in a tournament situation and you're at the end of a shot clock and you're like, fuck, we've passed the ball. Old Wisconsin teams would literally pass the ball till the shot clock went off.
Yeah.
And they'd be still passing the ball. Let's swing it one more time.
That's why I think Wisconsin is the Big Ten's best chance. And I don't think Wisconsin has much of a chance.
Okay, so I actually disagree.
I'm low on the Big Ten.
I think they do have
to win the national championship. I'm sorry.
National championship is a very long shot just because I think there's, Duke and Auburn are a step ahead of everyone else. And it's stupid to not just admit that. Yeah. I do think they have I think they have Final Four potential. Their offense is really, really good. I think it's top 7. I think it's 7th in KenPom, and their defense has gotten better. And they have they can play up and down with the team. They can play a game in the 80s, which we usually wouldn't be able to do. I still think Maryland might have the best ceiling in the Big Ten. I think their starting five is
really good.
Yeah. And Michigan State also has been playing phenomenal. I do worry Michigan State is a team that if they went up against an Alabama or a Kentucky or an Auburn, everyone against Auburn, but a team that can just absolutely drain it from 3, can Michigan State find enough scoring to match that?
Right.
Michigan State feels like they can win in one style.
Right.
Which they can win a lot of games in one style. They can drag people to the mud.
Yeah, they have to get other teams to play their style, but the thing is about elite teams is they're also trying to get you to play their style. So when they play another elite team that's no, you're going to play our way.
Right.
I don't know if they can adapt. But
I just don't know if they have the shot making.
Yeah.
They're kind of like old Wisconsin.
But Jace Richardson's so good.
Yeah, he is. He is.
He gets better every time I watch him play.
And Izzo's starting to say those quotes like these guys are playing for Michigan State.
Yeah.
That's kind of shit. He's starting to feel himself. But yeah, I do think this Badger and Jonathan Blackwell's been awesome. Max Klesmit might be injured. He wasn't playing great. I hope he gets better because he obviously is another floor spacer where you can't leave him open. But I think this team is. I'm at the point, and people are going to love this because this means I'm going to get my heart ripped out. I'm at the point that anything less than Sweet 16 is a disappointment, and then once you get to the Sweet 16, it's gravy. I know how the tournament works. If you lose in the Sweet 16, you're losing to probably a good team.
Yeah, I feel
except for the year that we lost to Davidson.
That feels like a fair way to contextualize this Wisconsin team.
Yeah,
I don't think that's unreasonable to say like you expect a Sweet 16.
Right, and Greg Gard has not proven it. I mean, the Johnny Davis year, we were the 2 seed and we lost in the second round because we couldn't hit a fucking shot against Iowa State. There's a decent chance we could be a 2 seed again. If we beat Michigan State on Sunday, we will be a 2 seed.
Yeah.
If we lose that game, we're probably either the last 2 seed or the first 3 seed, which is important because I think that would put us in Milwaukee for some games if we're the 2 seed. So that's very I do think that is I've been to tournament games in Milwaukee. That is a full home court advantage.
7 seeds. I'm trying to look at like second round. Like it's bracket matrix says Louisville. Oh, Louisville. Chucky.
Louisville's good. Chucky.
That would be
revenge. Chucky revenge.
St. Mary's.
But that's
Illinois.
another one where Chucky. Like I love Chucky. I think that Chucky leaving was great for Wisconsin because it was you were able to get some fresh blood in there. You were able to give Blackwell a little bit more of a role. Like I think that there were some good things that happened with the roster where if you had asked me in whatever it was May last year when we lost AJ Storr, we knew we were going to lose AJ Storr, and then Chucky was solid, and then literally all of a sudden I was literally talking to his agent about doing a Stella Blue thing. And I was like, all right, we'll talk tomorrow. And then it was just like, Chucky's going to Louisville. I was like, fuck.
All right, never mind.
Yeah, so like it's there's a little bit of luck, but it's also a lot of credit to Gard. And I love this team. I've watched every game. I love this team.
Are we worried that you're so reliant on Tanji? I feel like the
I don't know.
Lately, he's so good, but he's almost too good.
We are and we aren't though, because like Blackwell's been playing really well.
Yeah.
Kamari McGee's been playing well. He plays great defense. And Crowell can step out and hit some threes. He's been hitting, those threes that changes the whole way the teams can defend us. And I will say, as bad as Saturday was against Oregon, because I try to be the mature 40-year-old with 3 kids and not let sports affect me, it fucking ruined my day.
That was bad.
Ruined my day.
Really bad.
But I do think that was probably the best thing that could happen to them because they were feeling themselves a little bit. And Oregon's a good team. It wasn't a bad loss. Like, it was a bad loss how it happened. If you just say you lost to Oregon, that's not a bad loss.
Right.
If you say you lost when you're up 15 with 5 minutes left, that's a bad loss.
As the Big Ten, is just right there for the taking.
Right. So, but weirdly, and then I'll be honest, like when Michigan State hit that buzzer beater last night, I was like, that's great for us. Like a team off a buzzer beater road win against Maryland, like that's a good spot to catch them at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like if Michigan State had lost to Maryland, you get a little bit more focus and all that.
You're not out of it of the Big Ten, are you?
They need Michigan to lose to someone else.
You're down. You're back. You're 2 games back, but you play Michigan State. So then, and the Michigan State has who else left?
When does this come out?
They have
today. And then Michigan State has to play Michigan. So
I think Rutgers could beat Michigan tonight. I took them 10 plus 10.
Rutgers is
that would be huge for you.
Huge. Michigan still
has Maryland and Illinois as well.
Michigan's not that good.
Such bullshit. They've won every game by like 2 points.
That stretch they had where they went, it was 8 games where they were 7-1 with a -4 point differential. And 8 games. And
I love Danny Wolf. I loved him at Yale, but like it's like they can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah. Talk to me about the whole of college basketball. You mentioned it earlier. It's something I've believed for most of the season, but it's becoming a little controversial. There are Houston fans, there are Florida fans, there are Tennessee fans saying, "What about us, Bama fans?" But I think you and I are on the same page that it does feel like Duke and Auburn, and then a massive gap between everybody else.
I mean, I think that if you took Florida's best game, if you took Alabama's best game, I'm trying to think. I'm a believer in St. John's. They are kind of, though, a team that, like, similar to Michigan State, they can't win a game in the 80s. But there are a few teams that if they play their A-plus game, they can absolutely beat. I mean, Clemson almost went to the Final Four last year, and I think they're better, and they beat Duke this year. So there are definitely some teams that if I had to bet right now, I would say if you said Duke and Auburn, at least one of them will make the Final Four, I would say yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if both, just because the tournament's crazy. But yeah, it does feel like they are a step ahead. And if it's one of those things. If Auburn and Duke play their best game, then you can't beat them.
That's what I've made the point that like I don't necessarily think it's a foregone conclusion that one of those teams is going to win the national championship. I just keep saying like when the tournament gets here, there can be 1,000 upsets in the first couple rounds where
Right.
every 14 wins, every 15 wins. It's just everyone's just going, oh my God, this tournament is wide open, it's chaotic. As long as Duke and or Auburn are still in it,
Yeah.
it hasn't really quote unquote started to me. It's
Right.
like a wide open type.
Right, I agree with that. But I do think there are, I don't know, call it like 8 to 10 teams that are in that second tier that at their best can beat those teams.
Right.
Like, that's why I love this tournament, because I love that there are two teams. I think a perfect tournament is kind of what we're going to have this year, where there are two teams that are a step ahead, because it is nice to have two teams where like these teams are like they're the standard right now. I don't really love it when it's like no one's good. You know what I mean? Because it's like what's going on.
Yeah.
But two teams that are standard, and then there's a slew of teams that if they play their best game, they could absolutely win a national title.
Right. I'm trying to think of how to. Yeah, I think Duke
Texas
and Auburn are
Tech.
the best, but yeah, like where. Like if Florida wins the national championship, I don't think the tournament was a tournament of fuckery. I think they would be a worthy national champion, but I don't think Florida's the best team in the country. But
Do you think we'll talk more about it, their coach, if that happens?
Which one?
But it just doesn't even get talked about.
Two of them.
Yeah.
They said it was cleared.
It was cleared. Okay.
What about Torian Green? Let me get an update on that one.
It is a weird. It's weird that it
Two
was
of
like,
them.
well, he's winning, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Houston, Houston would be very capable. I think Houston is kind of. Houston feels like another team that I want to really, really love, but
I don't think it's the best version of Houston.
Yeah, it's not, and they have to play the game on their terms, and they're really good at getting teams to play on their terms. But I don't know if they can. And Tennessee obviously is. This is just like a Big T called this the quintessential Rick Barnes team.
Oh yeah,
this is as Rick Barnes as it gets.
Yeah, they're going to lose in the tournament when they go, 7 minutes without hitting a field goal.
But like a team like I think of Michigan State, really if any Big Ten team wins it, I do feel like it was a tournament of fuckery. I feel like Big Ten would have to there's going to have to be some chaos.
It's going to be hard.
It's going to be very hard for the Big Ten.
I think Maryland has that ceiling though. I do.
Yeah.
I think their starting five is really, really good.
Yeah.
And anytime a team has size that's a problem.
Yeah.
I
I like Maryland a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I can get there. Like when you, the problem too is the Big Ten is a completely different sport than the SEC.
Yeah.
It has been fucking crazy watching.
Yeah.
Even the game last night was great.
But
the game last night was disgusting.
Yeah, I mean the Nebraska-Michigan game was I couldn't turn it off because it was so bad.
It's so bad. And then seemingly every SEC game you watch is just a banger.
It's every
up and
game.
down and shots being made like crazy. Yeah, the SEC is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
But
and the Big 12 is really good too. Like
Yeah.
I mean Texas Tech is really good. Houston's good, really good. Arizona.
Texas Tech is the one team that I think has if I'm doing the tiers, I think Texas Tech is right on the cusp of like if they win a national championship, do I feel like I guess what I'm saying is at the end of the year there are times where the team that wins the national championship you look at it and you say that probably wasn't the best team.
Right, but they got hot
at the right time.
Yeah.
If Texas Tech won it all, would I think? Oh yeah, I guess they were deserving. They were actually the best team.
Yeah.
They just get. I think I go back and forth with them. They're right at the line for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many teams. I would put like 7 to 8 probably in the. I think they could win it, and I wouldn't think if they won it, I wouldn't say like, well, that was kind of a fluke or that was fuckery.
Right.
And Texas Tech is. I'm on the fence about them.
I had a couple other things for you that I wanted to throw out there. And I'll probably repeat myself. Just it's first tier, okay? Let's say that I'm giving him Mark Titus exclusive. I think we should ban fouling up 3.
I'm 100% with
You're
that.
in on that.
I've been in on that.
Not only would it make it better, but I also think people don't understand it, and it's being misused way too often.
Yeah.
Like when there's like 10 seconds left, and they're like, "Why didn't you foul up 3?" It's
Yeah.
like, well, because then there's like 5 more possessions.
Yeah,
in the
right,
game.
right.
Like there's a specific time to foul up 3, but people just love saying, "Oh, that's why you foul up 3."
Foul up 3, yeah.
But I know they probably will never do it. But it would make the game better if like you just can't foul up 3. If you're up 4, you can foul.
I think
can't foul up 3.
there's a flaw in a structure where you are incentivized to commit a penalty,
right,
so to speak. Like that doesn't make sense. A foul is supposed to be detrimental to the team committing the foul.
Or
so when you're using a foul as a strategy, I think there needs to be some sort.
It would be cool if you change it. You can foul up 3, but then they get 3 shots.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Or
like let's just put their worst free throw shooter on the line.
People have floated the idea of you can either take the free throws or the ball out again.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
but if you foul me, I can just take the ball out again, and then or what was my idea? Tate was like if you foul 3 times in one possession.
Yeah. What was the result of it? There was one where it was like you.
Cody, what would I say?
It was
we already solved this.
You get to
okay, good.
Keep shooting.
You get to keep shooting
until you miss.
I like that.
Oh, keep shooting free throws until you miss, something like that.
Yeah, but it struck me the other day when it was the Wisconsin game on Saturday, and Rothstein was like, "This is why you foul up 3." It's like Oregon hit a 3 with 8 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to foul up 3.
It's way too early.
And the guy made a fucking great play. Like you play defense, and you if they beat you that way, it's way too early.
The end of games in general is. Did you see the Vandy A&M game?
It literally
God.
went for 3 hours. It was insane.
That was a Buzz Williams masterclass.
It was insane.
That was fucking awful, dude.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, they got to figure this out.
And my other one was I'm addicted to just saying it doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't have to actually it doesn't have to be based on any facts. But I'm addicted to saying anytime Kentucky wins a game, that's a game Cal would lose. And last night I actually got in trouble because I said Kentucky won against Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Oklahoma really needed that win. And I was like, that's a game Cal would lose. And then while it was happening, Arkansas was about to lose a game that Cal would lose, but then he won it. And I was like, so when Arkansas won, I was like, that's a game Cal would have lost. Even though he's their coach. So I just like saying it as a blanket statement, just being like, that's a game Cal would lose. Even though he won a lot of games.
Arkansas is going to make the tournament,
they
right?
Are, 100%.
You think they're going to make the tournament?
100%.
I need John Calipari in my tournament.
Yeah, the SEC had a huge week with Arkansas obviously winning, Georgia winning, because they're a bubble. They're right. I think they're probably in. And then Vandy winning on the road. Like they're bubble teams. And our bubble teams, the Big Ten, just can't.
Yeah, Ohio State just can't get out of their own way. We
almost blew
Illinois.
Blew it to you against USC.
Illinois is a mess.
Indiana's a little back though.
Indiana's back.
All right. So Wisconsin Sweet 16 or bust.
They have to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
If they don't go to the Sweet 16, I'll be, especially if they're a 2 seed, because we've done that. And then this would be like Greg Gard, like great season again, but. What's going on?
If you're a 2 seed, do you want Duke in your region?
Probably not. Although, my Duke strategy this year is I'm just ignoring them and hoping that the ACC is so bad that it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hope until the other night when they beat Illinois by 1,000.
But Illinois is also like so banged up and just falling apart. But that's my strategy. I know it's a bad strategy. I know that there'll be a moment where I'm like, shit, I should have got my alert up earlier. But I'm just like, wait till they have to play anyone else.
In general, not even just this year, just in general in the NCAA tournament, are you at a point where you just want to avoid Duke because of the drama, or are you like, no, I want to keep feeding me those fuckers, and eventually we are going to beat them?
Well, it's kind of, I think it's a no-win in the fact that if Wisconsin beats Duke, my mentions will just be 2015
reminders.
Gifts.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true, yeah.
And if we lose, it will be 2015 gifts and the final score. So it's like there's nothing I can do. I can't get, like, the only way it would work is if we beat Duke in the national title.
Yeah.
That's
how many times are you going to have to beat them in a non-national title setting?
I don't think there's
2015.
There's not a number. It's infinity.
It's the same thing with like Duke and Carolina, where like it doesn't matter how many times they beat Carolina. Carolina will always have the trump card on Duke.
Who's gonna coach Carolina next year?
They just gave him an
extended
extension.
him.
Oh my god!
They just extended him.
They're going full front office too. GM,
That's right.
Everybody.
Mike Lombardi is their basketball GM too, right?
Who's gonna coach Indiana?
I have no idea, man. I really don't. They're all over the place with it.
I want Chris Beard.
Yeah. That was what Patino told us.
Yeah. Byington's getting a bunch of love now. Vanderbilt's coach, just because he was at JMU with Signetti.
That also feels like what Indiana will do, and then he'll, He'll flame out in like 4 years.
Yeah.
Like Chris Beard, I know there's some things. Choked his wife.
Yeah.
I don't want to downplay it.
That's probably the big thing.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay it and be like, there's some things in his past.
Yeah.
But he wins basketball games.
Yeah. Bob Knight connection too, which is important to those people.
That is important.
Yeah.
What do you think they'd have to actually offer Brad Stevens to do it? Like
there is a number, right?
There has to be.
There has to be a number that Brad Stevens. It would be irresponsible of Brad Stevens to not take the job. I don't. Yeah. I thought they offered him $70 million for 7 years. I thought $10 million a year was. I mean that was 4 years ago. I don't know what they offered him this time around.
It's insane. He's in a position where he just. It's kind of like Che when we were trying to explain to him the Liam Cohn position, and it's like what if someone offered you $10 million? He's like, well, I already have my dream job.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck. Well, you can't negotiate with that.
I do wonder if Brad, some part of him realizes or believes that like the bar is set so high. He is such a savior. That if they brought him there and he doesn't win a national title, he'll be thought of as a failure. So I do wonder if there's like part of them that's like, yeah, I mean the job, getting paid a fuck ton of money to be a god, that sounds awesome. Yeah, back in my home state and all that. The problem is, what if I don't win a national championship?
The prodigal son thing is like you could either be a Jim Harbaugh or you could be a Scott Frost.
Yeah,
Scott Frost can't go back to Nebraska,
right? Like, and then what happens if like 5 years in, Brad Stevens realizes, oh, this coaching at Indiana in 2025 is very different than coaching at Butler in 2010.
Yeah, right.
Oh shit, this is a whole different beast. And he doesn't ever make a Final Four in like 4 years.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna make the tournament?
We have 2 games left. We have Nebraska and we have Indiana at Indiana.
I'm operating under
at Northwestern loss. So
I am believing that we're not making the tournament, so that way I can be pleasantly surprised.
You got to get it. It's the best to be in. Just give.
Oh, dude! I mean, Wisconsin had 20 years where we were in, and then we didn't get in like 2 of the last 5 years. It just doesn't feel the same.
I'm hoping we get
It's awful.
We're going to be in the play-in game in Dayton. We're going to be an 11 seed. Playing in.
We're going to be
and we're going to get hot.
Seed that gets hot.
Yeah.
We're right on the cusp. We're gonna. I think we have to win out and then win one game in the Big Ten tournament. We have to win. Who do we got? We got Indiana to close.
Yeah, at Indiana on next Saturday.
Who do we got?
Nebraska.
You should be able to win a game in the Big Ten tournament, especially if you're playing on the first day.
It's 13 versus 14, 11.
Who will we play?
I know,
probably.
It's crazy. That's the big thing too. Is Wisconsin they have to win. I think 2 out of 3 here to get the double bye.
Yeah,
which is very important.
I mean, if our first game is like a Northwestern or a USC.
Oh, well, Northwestern
beat us. I mean, Northwestern's
held you to 49 points.
It was bad.
No. We were sick though.
We were sick.
Yeah, we were sick.
There has been a lot of sickness.
We were sick.
That was when we played Illinois. They didn't do the handshake line.
Yeah.
Because they were sick.
That's what happened.
Where'd you stand on that?
So funny because like you just played 40 minutes of basketball, like breathing heavily on each other, sweating on each other, and like nope, no handshake.
Yeah,
no handshake.
All right.
Okay.
Good luck to the Badgers.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
The sickos and perverts are going to have a ball because they know how this works. Whenever I get my hopes up with a team, it never ends well, and then. They get to just watch me spiral and crash out in just horrific fashion where I'm just not a good person.
Yeah.
Not a good person.
And you also will, you and I both know you renegotiate as the tournament wears on. You're like, if we just make the Sweet 16, I'll be happy. And then once you're in the Sweet 16.
No, you got, yeah.
And you start looking at the bracket and you're like, oh my God, we got.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before. The year we
got to
lost.
play an 11 seed and then we got to play.
There was a year we lost to Cornell. Where I was like, this bracket is incredible for us. There was a year, obviously, we lost to Steph Curry and Davidson, where I was like, this Steph Curry guy's not good. That was wrong. Yeah, no, you do that. But I'm saying it. I will not move off it if we lose before the if we don't get to the second weekend. I will be like, this is an utter failure, and I'll be devastated.
Yeah.
So I just want to be in a big game.
John Tonji, Big Ten Player of the Year.
Has to be.
Yeah,
I think he's Big Ten Player of the Year.
Greg Gard, Big Ten Coach of the Year, right?
It's got to be Dusty. It has to be Dusty.
They fucking it has so to be Dusty. They're not that.
I think Izzo's got a case.
Yeah, Izzo's got.
I think Izzo's got a case.
Yeah, but where we're, I'm just saying, like in terms of because a lot of the times the Coach of the Year and the Big Ten Player of the Year, or more the Coach of the Year, is like a team that Like Wisconsin was
You guys were 12th in the media.
right, exactly.
That's
So
pretty
we're
good jump.
highly
I don't.
overachieving
Yeah, the
what
coach of the
people
year,
thought.
the calculus, of the coach of the year is so stupid because it is just that. It's
Right.
Where were you picked? Where you?
And
But
that's why Gard deserves it.
I made the argument that I think coach of the year should be the team that's the best team because you're at the college level. You're in charge of putting your roster together. You're in charge of.
True.
Michigan.
You're in charge of basically
We
everything.
went 3-17 last year. Michigan.
Yeah, and they lost by 1,000.
Yeah, but then they just
at home
brought
to Florida.
FAU and got Danny Wolf.
Yeah.
But I guess that is, to your point, the roster
Michigan
matters.
State was not good last year.
No.
And they lost their 3 best players.
Yeah.
And now they're really fucking
Those
good.
guys are playing for Michigan State, though.
Yeah.
Izzo said it.
You see last night,
Why?
they deserved that win.
Yeah, no, they got. They
deserved
They
it.
They
didn't.
legit-
They didn't.
But
I thought they did. They fucking.
I loved
The
how
way
they
they-
shut down Maryland's big guys.
But did you watch the last minute and a half? They were trying to give that game.
that was okay. Holloman. I'm glad he was the one to hit the shot because he ripped. That was a clean. That was a. He had the bad pass, but then clean steal.
Yeah.
Terrible call. Yeah, they were trying to give it away.
They were a little bit
Like-
at the end. But yeah, no, they did. I mean, I think Maryland came back in that game without hitting a field goal. Like they were just shooting free throws. That was pure Big Ten basketball. It's like, all right, we're down 7 with 4 minutes left. We just need 4 trips to the line. We'll be back.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Big Cat.
Yes,
come back
thank
on.
you guys.
Come back on during the tournament.
Yes.
We'll have more fun
Love it.
in March. All right, Big T is here to talk about Tennessee, a team that is. I mean, I'm trying to do records for everybody. 23-5. What are you currently ranked right now?
5th.
5th in the country. In an absolutely loaded SEC, you're kind of being thought of nationally as like a tier below the upper echelon of the SEC. But once upon a time, number 1 team in the country. You go to the Elite Eight last year. I don't need to tell you what happened. I'm speaking to my audience.
No, yeah, I saw it.
Lose to Purdue.
I saw it.
But we're in the Rick Barnes era where every single year, seemingly, you have a team that is a top 10 caliber team. What is the vibe? What is the expectation? How are you feeling about Tennessee basketball as we head into March?
I think this Tennessee team is whenever Rick Barnes retires, and in like 20 years, if somebody asks like what was Tennessee basketball like with Rick Barnes, I think this is the quintessential Rick Barnes.
Oh, I like this.
Where like they're outstanding. They can beat anybody in the country. Like they could beat Auburn, Florida, Bama, whoever you want. Are they gonna do it 4 times in a row? Probably not.
Yeah.
And like they can score, but sometimes it looks like.
But for a team that can score, why can't they score all the time?
Right.
Yeah, it's like so frustrating.
But they are really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think this is the perfect. Like last year wasn't. Last year the offense was too good.
Yeah.
Because they had a fucking NBA player.
Yeah.
And like 18, 19, the offense was an outlier too. I think this is the perfect Rick Barnes team to summarize his tenure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying on the show that I think Tennessee, when the bracket comes out and I look at Tennessee up against every other team, I like the idea of Tennessee beating every team that they'll face. But like you said, can they do it 4 times in a row? It's just, or you have to win 6 in a row to win it all, but the first 2, let's assume, they'll be all right. I don't. I just have the feeling that last year I didn't have that feeling because Dalton Connect and Chaz Lanier. Do you think like he can be the guy? He's not as good as Dalton Connect, but early in the season I was very high on you guys because of Chaz. Like the game at Louisville, he's balling out, and it kind of felt like he was going to replace that role enough, and there would be enough offense. And he's sort of getting it back now, but in the middle of the year,
though.
yeah.
The A&M game got me back excited again.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I mean.
really
He's now back to doing that, but then there's that middle lull in the year where I'm like, is this team gonna rear their ugly head at the worst time in March?
Probably, but you never know. Like if you told me that on Saturday, Tennessee was playing, who's the 15 they'll play? Marist. I'd be like, yeah, we'll beat them. They said actually they just changed the game. It's against St. Mary's, but yeah, we'll beat them.
Yeah.
And they said, wait, it changed again. It's against Wisconsin. But yeah, we'll win.
You'll feel
and then
good.
they were like, actually, it changed again. It's against Houston. I'd be like, that'll be close, but we'll win.
Yeah.
But then you say you play them all 4 back-to-back. It's going to be like, well, one of the times.
There's no way we're winning all 4 of those. Yeah. Yeah. So what is the expectation? What will make you feel like this was a successful, a fun, I remember talking to you for what it's worth before the season started. You're like, we're not going to be as good. Like we're just not going to be. They're like, I think losing Dalton.
I said we'd be good.
Yeah, but you're like, we're not going to be
top 5.
Yeah, you were number 1 in the country at one point.
Yeah, I'm done. Just in general, but specifically with Tennessee, I'm done basing things on the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
Like, if they win, awesome. If they don't, fine. Like, November to March, it was fun, and they won most every basketball game they played.
Let's focus on the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, like
it was fun.
Are they going to win the national championship? Probably not.
Yeah.
Could they? Yes.
Yeah.
So fuck it. Let's see what happens.
So this year the SEC, obviously, it's been talked about ad nauseum that the SEC is a historically great conference. Has this been enjoyable for you as a guy who cheers for a team in that conference, or is this just like torture that every single night, seemingly every night, it's like, God damn, we got these guys. Can we please just get like a gimme game?
No, it's good because we win most of them. If we were a team like Oklahoma,
undefeated in non-conference,
that's really good, and then you look up and you're like 5-10.
Yeah,
you're like, well, shit, this isn't very fun. But yeah, I mean, we've won most. I would have rather beaten Vandy and dog shit Kentucky, but
yeah,
All
right, well. So if things go poorly and the Rick Barnes jokes come out, like, you're like, no, he's our guy, we're fine. We'll just keep running this back year after year and
I mean, yeah, like if Rick comes back next year, I'm sure we'll be very
you'll
good.
still be very good. And you're fine and you ultimately think that despite like people outside of Tennessee making jokes about how you'll always come up short, you're like, this is actually like this is a very successful stretch of basketball that most people would kill to have.
I mean, every team except one comes up short.
Right.
And over the last, 5 years, how many basketball programs are better than Tennessee?
Yeah.
That's a serious
I'm
question.
with you. It's a good perspective, yeah.
I guess you'd have to say UConn. Even though, you have to say UConn.
You do have to say UConn.
How many others?
It's UConn. I would say Purdue has to be above you guys. I would say.
I don't know that that's true.
I would say
I don't know that that's
above
true.
You guys. I would say over the last 5 years, well, just basically all the teams that won the titles, obviously.
Okay.
So you're Kansas, you're Baylor in 21, Kansas in 22.
I guess, but it's a short list.
Yeah.
Like Kansas has been down recently, North Carolina's been down.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think that's a healthy perspective, BT. I would enjoy watching Tennessee all season. I was just curious because it does feel like there's nothing particularly special about this team, and yet they are very, very, very good.
I didn't say I enjoyed watching them. I enjoy winning. I don't necessarily enjoy watching them win.
If I were to say that you guys are not, if we're doing tiers of the SEC, I think it's Auburn and Florida and Bama are just like one notch above. Are you fighting me on that?
Yes.
Okay. You think you belong in the top?
Well, let's see what happens if we beat Bama on Saturday, and then we're 2-2 against that group.
The why would be you have 5 losses in conference.
With one of the losses being 2 points at Auburn.
Yeah. And Florida beat you by 30.
We beat them by 20.
So you lost by 10 on aggregate then, I guess.
Okay. I think I saw the 2 lowest field goal percentages for a top 5 team this century were when we played them and when they played us.
That's Tennessee basketball. Baby.
We lost 60-30 something.
Yeah.
Or 70-40, and they lost 64-44 or something.
Before you go, Zakai Ziegler, quick thoughts on his legacy at Knoxville. His what in 15 years, if I mention the name Zakai Ziegler, how do you think you're gonna feel about?
Awesome.
Saying that? Yeah.
He's the best. He has been going on this weird thing recently where he's kind of trash in the first half. And then the second half, he scores 17 points and has 8 assists.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's awesome. I've been hearing potential rumblings about maybe a 5th year.
What?
That's just what I've been.
All right. Well, there he is, Mr. Big Tennessee himself. Big. That's what the T is short for, I assume.
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. Tennessee, watch them in the SEC tournament and in the NCAA tournament. You'll be a 2 seed.
I hope
2 seed in the NCAA.
Well, we're going for a 1, but sure.
You got to win the SEC. You think you can win the SEC and get a 1?
I don't want no, because remember you and I've talked about this. We won the SEC tournament in 2022.
Yeah.
And then Joe Lunardi said, "Oh, actually, it doesn't count."
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So no, I want to lose on.
But I don't think you're gonna get a 1 unless you win the SEC tournament. At
Why?
This point. Because there's there are too many teams ahead of you.
If we finish undefeated, we beat Bama, win at Ole Miss.
Yeah. But the Duke's a 1. That's a lock. Auburn could lose every game for the rest of the season. It will still probably be a 1.
Okay.
And Duke and Auburn are locks, and then you're getting whoever wins the SEC tournament.
So if we beat Bama and they lose to Auburn, why would they be ahead of us?
If you beat Bama and then you don't win in the SEC tournament, who are you losing to? You know?
I don't know. Well, every team is good. I want to lose as quickly as possible in the SEC tournament.
But I don't think you could lose in the SEC tournament and get a 1. We'll see.
That's ridiculous. Then if you're telling me to pick between those, I want to lose the first game of the SEC
I don't think you guys can. I think other teams can. I don't think you're in a position to.
Well, that's bullshit. So if we'd have wins over, tell me Houston.
I'm just telling you the way it is right now. Florida, Bama, and Auburn are all ahead of you, and Duke is as well. How are you going to jump those teams if you don't?
Why are Florida and Bama ahead of us?
Because they have better resumes.
Bama.
They have better resumes.
How?
It's not just about whether you beat them head to head.
I don't have my computer pulled up. Let me go.
All right.
I'll come back.
No.
Let me get on.
I got a million people to talk to on the show.
If we win every game the rest of the season, there's no reason Florida or Alabama should be ahead of us.
All right. I don't.
Houston, by the way, Houston's beaten virtually nobody.
Get the fuck out.
Almost
of here.
nobody.
Get the fuck out of here. Big T, Tennessee basketball. All right, joining me now to talk about Michigan State is Blake. Who? What do you do here?
I'm a graphics guy.
Okay, you're just Blake to me. You're just that is your name and also your title.
Yeah,
you're just Blake.
That's good.
You're a Michigan State guy.
I am.
Yeah, I picked up on that you wear Michigan State stuff all the time. So we're recording this Wednesday before the Michigan State Maryland game. So take that into context because I think Maryland's favored. It's at Maryland, right? Yeah, Maryland's very, very good. Yeah. But I want to do a 30,000-foot view on this Michigan State team as we're heading into March, and your team is led by Mr. March himself. I said at the start of the season, and I've revisited these thoughts many times throughout the year, that I thought this might be one of Tom Izzo's worst teams because, in my estimation, it's basically the same team as last year except like the 3 best players are gone. I watched the Kansas game. They couldn't shoot to save their lives. I didn't see an obvious NBA player. There's like not like high end talent to me, and I was like, I think they're just gonna like struggle to score. I think that ultimately talent's going to be an issue, and I just don't think this is going to be a very good Michigan State team, and they're just going to live on the bubble. I was very, very wrong, and now Jace Richardson has become a super duper star. Michigan State is, as of this recording, in first place by themselves in the Big Ten, sitting at 22-5 overall, 13-3 overall. I have done a roller coaster throughout the season with Michigan State. What about you? What does a Michigan State fan feel about this team throughout this entire season and now as we are entering March?
So something weird about like Michigan State fans is like I feel like we're more confident when we're not supposed to be as good. Mm-hmm. So like last year when we were number 1 or number 2 preseason going into the first game losing to JMU, going into that game I think a lot of us were like, oh, I don't think we deserve that. We were just like that because we returned like all of our starters or we returned a bunch of players. Going into this year I think I was confident that we were going to be like a decent team, whatever. Like everybody had us like middle of the pack, Big Ten. I think we were going to be better than that. And obviously with the success we had in November, December,
December, January, it didn't lose 13 in a row, I think it was.
Yeah. So like that kind of obviously like skewed perceptions because then we went into February, lost to USC, UCLA, and then won 1 game, lost to Indiana. So I think we kind of know who we are now. We know we're good. We're winning in spite of not shooting well from 3, even though we kind of picked it up the past couple games. Mm-hmm. I think we could make a run for the Final Four and national championship, honestly. That's also biased. I'm obviously Michigan State, but I think we have a good team. I think we play good defensively. Jaden Akins, who was supposed to be our star this year, hasn't been the great offensively, but he's still great defensively. Mm-hmm. Trey Holloman's pulling shots out of his ass like he did 3 3-pointers in a row against Michigan last week. Jace Richardson, obviously, like you said, like is playing like a first-round lottery pick. Yeah, I mean, our bigs are playing good. The reason we beat Michigan, I was kind of talking to Tate before the game. I was kind of just talking back and forth. Like, I didn't think we were going to beat them down low because obviously they have Vlad Golden. What's the other guy? His name Wolf.
Danny Wolf, yeah.
And Michigan State's always kind of struggled against like big 7-foot guys. Like obviously Zach Edey was in the league or Big Ten for so long, and we've just never had that big 7-footer, big like post presence since like Xavier Tillman, Nick Ward. So I kind of thought our guards were going to have to beat their guards, and that's exactly what happened. Luckily, we shot well from behind the arc, and kind of.
You do have like a rotating cast of big dudes, though, that you just throw in there. That's what I went to the game, the Ohio State Michigan State game in Columbus, and that was like, I mean, the two things that stood out to me was one, Michigan State defense, they were just crawling in our ass and making life hell, and that was one of the worst 3-point shooting games for both teams ever. It was just brutal to watch, but then it was also like every dead ball, there'd just be like another goofy big dude from Michigan State checking in that's like, I'm here to throw elbows and set illegal screens. I'm like, where the fuck are you finding all these guys? But yeah, for a team that can't shoot threes, I will say that like you make it up on the other end because you guard the 3-point line well, you play great defense. Has this been like an enjoyable season as far as like do you? I don't know. Of course it is. You're winning the Big Ten. I don't know what I mean. But like, does this feel like a memorable type season, like a fun team, or is this just at times you're just like, this is, I don't know how we're winning this game. This is kind of a chore to watch this team, but damn it, we'll take the win and we'll move on. Or are you like actually having a ton of fun watching this team?
I would say I'm having a lot of fun watching this team. I mean, this is the most Tom Izzo team I've seen since 2019 Cavs. And like I haven't seen a team for Michigan State like jump on the floor for loose balls, and do all that stuff, like battle down hard in the post, like you said, like throwing elbows, all that stuff. Like Jackson Kohler, my favorite guy.
Yeah, he's nasty.
He runs around with
the real son of a bitch, that guy.
He shoots a three, makes it, and then the camera immediately zooms in on his face, and he's just like screaming. Yeah. Like he just shot, like made the first three of his life. But yeah, no, I love every single person on this team. Again, I'm very biased, but this is the most I've loved a team since 2019 Cassius Winston, like all that stuff. And I don't know, it all starts in reality, it all starts tonight. Like Michigan, we beat Michigan, whatever. We're past that now. Michigan fans will tell you they don't care because they don't care about basketball unless they're good, and then they lose to Michigan State and they don't care anymore. So I don't know. We'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, tough schedule down the stretch. Like there's Maryland tonight, then you're playing Wisconsin, right? And then you get the rematch with Michigan. Who, you know, I'd feel pretty confident if I was you guys going up against Michigan again. But how much? Last question I have for you: how much does the Mr. March thing do you personally believe in? Like how much of a bump does it give you? Where like if most teams are like a 7 seed, I feel like they're like, if we can win a game or two, that'd be a nice little run. But I do feel like Michigan State, from a national perspective, people see them as when you're like a 7 or 8 or 9 seed, and you're like, Michigan State go on a run, Michigan State. So now when you're in a position right now where you might end up being like a 2 seed, of course people are like, oh my God, Tom Izzo with a 2 seed, even though, you know, once upon a time you did lose to the 15. But how much do you personally? Like, yes, I see a lot of warts with our team, but goddamn it, we have Tom Izzo and the calendar says March.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we lost as a 2 seed before, so I think I take more stock in it when we're not as good or not highly ranked, because like Tom Izzo kind of gives you like the underdog mentality. He's like they're not betting on you, they don't trust you. You got to go out there and just kick ass. And so obviously, if we're a 2 or 3 seed, like can't really put too much weight into
underdog.
It,
it's hard to be the underdog.
Because then he's kind of just it's always just a letdown spot until like later in the tournament. But obviously he's done it before. Like I keep referencing like 2019. Like I think we were a 3 seed or 2 seed that year. I don't remember exactly. But obviously we made all the way to the Final Four for that year. So as long as all the pieces are right and maybe we can start shooting the 3 ball better, I don't think everything else is going to go away. So,
or it's trending towards just play great defense and get the ball to Jace and get the fuck out of the way. That's gonna be a good combo. All right, I'm on board. I feel like Michigan State. It's been a tumultuous year for me with Michigan State fans. I feel like I've been an enemy at times. I've always been coming from a place of praise in some way, except for really the start of the season. The start of the season, I was like, this team might suck, and then throughout the year, even as you guys were winning, I was always like backhanded with my. I was like, this team's still not good, but it's crazy that they're winning these games. But I always, as I was saying the words, I always felt like it was complimentary. It was always like, they're overachieving. This is crazy. This is awesome. This is Tom Izzo. Like you said, it's like the most Tom Izzo team ever. The culture is like so. If you've never watched Tom Izzo team before and you watch this year's team, you could just tell that this is like how he coaches all of his teams. That this is just, we rebound, we dive on the floor, we push. Whether we give up a shot or not, we're pushing in transition. And we're just grabbing every offensive. I don't know. They're very, very fun to watch. And yeah, my issue of like, I don't know if they have the top end talent. I've kind of got that answer with Jace Richardson. He might be that guy. So we'll see. Thank you, Blake. Good luck tonight and the rest of the way. How important is winning the Big Ten to you? Winning the regular season Big Ten championship?
I would say regular season more than tournament. I don't care about the tournament.
Yeah.
Because obviously the tournament finished.
And also, if you guys don't win the regular season, it probably means Michigan does. So
then
there is that.
I'll care more about that.
Yeah.
Like if it's either us or like Wisconsin or Maryland.
Yeah.
I have Michigan can't win.
Yeah. Whatever it takes to keep Michigan from winning.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, Blake.
Thank you.
All right. Joining me now to talk about the Rutgers Scarlet Knights is the only man to ever work on this show and leave us for greener pastures. It is TJ Hitchings. Rutgers is 14-14. You're tied for the 10 seed, I want to say, right now in the Big Ten. I think with Ohio State, with my Buckeyes. I think we're all I think it's us, Nebraska, and Rutgers. We're all 7-10. Give me your overarching thoughts on a Rutgers basketball season that saw 2 of the top 3 recruits in the country come to Rutgers, and now as we're on the precipice of March, you're 500.
Yeah, you mentioned that I left the show, and I think it's no coincidence that we built a college basketball product here, and then my team, Rutgers, had their most hype going into a season of any athletics program at the school by far, and immediately fell as flat on their face as possible, so I abandoned the product.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a coincidence.
If I remember right after I got hired, I promised you Rutgers was going to make the tournament.
Right.
That was like the first tournament we experienced together.
Yes.
I was like Rutgers will be fine, and then you guys. What was the moment that year that like everything fucked up? Was it Minnesota? Was Minnesota involved? I feel like there was a Minnesota
loss at home. Maybe I want to say that they lost. They blew a 14-point lead on a buzzer beater. It was
at Minnesota.
Right.
I pulled it. It was 2 years ago. It was March 2nd at Minnesota, who was absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Minnesota had lost like 1,000 in a row.
Yeah.
And then that happened. Yeah. So I'm just bad luck. So that makes sense.
I don't think
you want to get the hell away from me.
I don't think you have had any negative impact on. I think Rutgers is destined to disappoint, no matter what the situation is. Where it's either they live up and they surpass whatever low expectations they have, but then fall flat on their face by losing into double overtime in the play-in game to Notre Dame a couple years ago. Or if it's having all of this hype going into the season, and they will make history. They're barring a miracle, they're going to become the first program in college basketball history to send 2 guys top 5 in the NBA draft, but miss the tournament. That's never happened before. That's the first that we're.
Is that something that you dug up on your own, or is this like being circulated around the Rutgers?
In the Rutgers
message boards and
circles.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like, hey guys, we did it. History will be made, unless again, we still got the little dance where we're virtually locked into the little dance, the Big Ten tournament. Anything can happen once you make it to the little dance.
What is the
AQ?
What is the optimism level there? Like, do you actually believe? None?
I don't even. I honestly would rather not even go. Like, I'm done. Like it's weird. Like, this is the only way that they like broke the Rutgers has, to their credit, had an unbelievable home field advantage the last 5 or 6 years since this Pikel team has sort of like become a thing. Like, the Rack has become a place to play where it's like, watch out if you have to go into a game at the Rack. You don't want to play.
It's a
Rutgers
house of horrors for a lot of teams. Yeah.
Like, even that's been extinguished, where like the vibe at home games is not the same. The home field advantage is not there. Like, literally everything has broken about this program. And, next year we're not going to have the top 5 recruits, so it's only going to get worse.
So how did this happen? Because Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper have been as good as advertised. Yeah. They are going to be almost certainly 2 and 3 in the draft, assuming like something crazy doesn't happen between now and then with the draft process. So they've been as good as you expected them to be. Mm-hmm. It's just the rest of the guys are that bad.
Yeah, I think it's just NIL discussions is like, if you have X millions of dollars to spread across a 12-man roster, does it make more sense to push 95% of that money into 2 guys and then try and cobble together, mid-major transfers? Or does it make more sense to spread that money evenly over 6 or 7 guys? And we did the former, and that's like the players after our 3rd or 4th best players like do not belong on a Big Ten basketball.
Yeah.
And that's no discredit to them. Like, they're playing with the opportunity that they had, but it's like the people on the team that are trying to support Dylan and Ace do not belong on the court for the most part.
Okay, so let's try to find some optimism. Number 1, you've won 2 in a row. Tough schedule remaining. You got to go to Michigan, to Purdue. And then you close the season with Minnesota. There we go. Maybe a good moment for Minnesota heading into the Big Ten tournament. You're going to have to win the Big Ten tournament. I agree with you that like as much as you want to talk yourself into like these two future NBA studs are leading the team, there is a world where they could win the Big Ten tournament. I just don't think they can. I don't actually think they can. I think they could do like kind of what Ohio State did last year, which is go on a little bit of a run to get you excited about the idea of winning, but then they're not actually going to win it.
Yeah.
But the Lathan Somerville kid who I haven't paid that much attention to Rutgers since it's been clear that you guys weren't going to be all that awesome this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get him back. Do we like him? Do we think that he'll be good in the future?
I'm very, very scared about the possibility of a mass transfer exodus.
Just everybody transferring. If these guys are good in the NBA, that's still a good thing. Like this wasn't a completely wasted season where like you could still hopefully Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper are awesome in the league and you could still point to them and be like, those are our guys. Don't look up what the season was when they were here, but like
because every punchline is going to be like, can you believe Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey played together in college? That team must have gone to the Final Four.
I'm trying to figure out how we spin this as a positive that like we use this for recruiting moving forward, but that's probably not a good thing for Peichel if it's like, yeah, you had two studs and couldn't go 500.
I love Peichel. Steve Peichel, I've gotten the chance to meet him a few times. Me and Big Cat went to practice once. He's met both of my parents. Like he's a great guy. I think he's been nothing but monumental for getting Rutgers to the position where they could even fantasize about having top 5 recruits, because when he got hired, that was not the case. So we were the doormat of the Big Ten year after year after year. I don't know where the pulse of the fans is going to be coming out of this season, because like there was 2 years of hype leading into this, and to fall as flat as they did. He's such a defensive coach, and this had to be an offensive-minded team, and he couldn't do it. Like, he couldn't. The team plays no defense and doesn't score enough because Dylan and Ace only score 20 each a game. Like, they don't score.
Yeah, they're not scoring
50
40
each a game. Like
which is what it'll take probably.
I don't know how to move forward and be like, well, next year will be better, because it's not going to be. It's not. There's not going to be a better roster. It's not going to be more like this was it. So I don't know how to move forward and be like, yep, Peichel's still our guy. I love him. I think he's been amazing. I think he's one of the best coaches in the history of the program. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move forward and be like, we got it next year, guys. We'll learn from the mistakes. Like, that's just not how. We're the most disappointing team in the sport this year. Yeah. We have to be the most disappointing team in college basketball this year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought surely you'll make the tournament. Whether you actually do anything once you're there, who knows? But surely they'll at least make the tournament. And yeah. All right, well, that sucks. that's the state of Rutgers basketball, everybody. But yeah, if you want to watch, I mean, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are awesome, so they're worth watching on their own. But yeah, Rutgers. It's going to take a miracle, and who knows? Crazier things have happened. None come to mind right now, but they have happened. I know that's true, that maybe Rutgers does win the Big Ten tournament. All right, thanks, TJ. All right, Indiana superfan White Boy Rick is joining me now. The Hoosiers have been a roller coaster, to say the least, this year. Very highly touted team coming into the season, not necessarily with preseason expectations, but more they were the team, in my estimation, Rick, that won the offseason.
Yes.
Won the
portal hype was through the charts.
Every portal target you had, seemingly you got. You lost McNeely, the switcheroo to UConn. Liam McNeely goes to UConn. But outside of that, it felt like everybody you wanted to bring in, you brought in.
Right.
There was a lot of we'll see if Mike Woodson can put the pieces together. A lot of doubt in that regard, but there were when you looked at Indiana's roster, you're like, I see the vision. I see this.
Absolutely.
I think I said in the preseason, Indiana is the Big Ten's best chance at winning a national title, because I think they'll have the highest ceiling. I have no idea where their floor will be, but they have so much talent. Obviously, it has not been a season that is indicative of a team reaching their full potential. But here we are as the calendar turns to March, coming off a massive win against Purdue, sitting at 16-11, and suddenly the NCAA tournament hopes that looked like they were completely gone. The tournament's back on. Are you back? You're back in.
We're back in.
Okay.
And that's kind of been a recurring theme of the Woodson era. Is the talent's always there. That's the cool thing about being an Indiana fan. We're always going to have money to throw at guys, but it's always that roller coaster that you described, and it's always. Maybe once every 3 or 4 games, they show you flashes of that team that they could be, that ceiling you were talking about. and then they'll come out the very next game and they'll lose by 15 at Assembly Hall, which could very well happen tonight against Penn State. But as of right now, we're back in. We're looking
Feeling
at the
good.
path. We're looking at the bubble. We're back on the looking at Joe Lunardi projections. And yeah, we're really starting to see this team start to gel together a little bit.
How did this happen from your perspective? How did Indiana go? What did you lose 6 in a row, 5 in a row? 6 in a row at one point? And
So-
like 8 of 10 or something? I don't remember what it was bad. It was really bad.
I
And then-
think finally getting the Woodson monkey off your back and saying, okay, he's gone after this year, he is retiring, and having some clarity about that.
Yeah.
The team's really been playing a lot looser, a lot less pressure since that happened. And, Indiana's always going to be heavy scrutiny when you're there, but it really seems like these guys want to play for their head coach right now, want to send him off on a high note. We saw after the Purdue game, they all crashed his interview, were rubbing his bald head. And yeah, it's, guys figuring out their roles, starting to finally figure out the lineups that work.
Yeah.
And yeah, just
Heavy
faster,
dose of
looser
Anthony
basketball.
Leal.
Anthony Leal. I mean, can't say enough good things about our resident real estate agent, Anthony Leal. I mean, he'll do whatever you need on the floor. He'll kick guys in the nuts. He'll dive for loose balls.
He will do that. He kicked
Yeah.
him in the nuts, right? Can you say that? Can we say that? He kicked him in the nuts?
We could say there's nothing illegal about a
Okay.
little sack tap. Nothing illegal about it. It's not the reason Purdue gave up a 28-3 run in the second half, Purdue fans, but yes, there was a
absolutely right
sack
about
that
that.
was tapped.
So Woodson did, at some point this season, I forget how long ago it was now, but the news broke that Mike Woodson would no longer be the coach following this season. This will be his last year, and whether you want to say he was fired or he retired or he was pushed out, it doesn't really matter in the end. Like, he's just not. He's going to see out this season, and then they'll find a new coach in the offseason. Your thoughts on Mike Woodson as it stands right now? And again, the Hoosiers do play at home tonight against Penn State in a game history says they could lose
By a lot.
and completely fuck this whole thing up. But we're recording this before the Penn State game. Your thoughts on Mike Woodson right now, right this second?
Yeah, I think he's got a guy who's been pretty heavily villainized by IU. There's been some crazy things said on the message boards, on some podcasts about him. I think he's just a guy that his players love, but he's probably just not cut out for current modern.
He's too old
college
school.
basketball.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like the in-game adjustments you want to see. He doesn't have the fast, quick-paced motion offense you want to see. He was playing two bigs.
Loves big guys.
Way too long throughout
Yeah.
the year, which was the reason we beat Purdue, was bullying them in the paint. But the Renew and Balo lineups where fans were harping on it all year, it took us way too long to start staggering them. And yeah, just a great guy, solid basketball coach, just not the guy that's going to hang us a six-pack.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought when he was hired, I thought that was the vision. It wasn't like Mike Woodson's going to return Indiana to national prominence and hang another banner and go to Final Fours and win Big Tens. Mike Woodson was there to just like level everything, like get everybody to chill out.
You really forget how dark it was after Archie.
And in a weird way, like on the macro, he's done that. Like if Indiana makes a tournament this year, that's 3 tournaments in 4 years for a program that how long? It was 4 years.
Yeah,
Archie was there 4 years. They didn't make it, and Crean didn't make it his last. So it was 5 years, right? Because Crean's last year they didn't make it. Surely,
I think we would have made it without the COVID year.
Oh, that was a COVID year?
That was Archie's last year.
Oh, okay. But what it had been like however many years it had been, Indiana's not in the tournament. IU fans were just like, listen, we're not saying we're going to win every national championship. We just want to make the goddamn tournament,
Right.
and that doesn't seem that unrealistic. And I thought if you look back on Mike Woods, say Indiana does in fact make the tournament this year, I think on the macro he's done his job in stabilizing the program, and that they're going to the tournament, and we're getting used to Indiana being back in the NCAA tournament. But it's funny because on the micro level, like you said, like the ups and downs throughout the season of like, yeah, we got a big win, but then we turn around and get blown out, and you just never know what team's coming in on any given night. It's weird because it's like it's been very tumultuous, but it's been like a very on the macro, it feels very stable, and yet when you're in it, when you're in the trenches, you're like, this is fucking chaos.
And the trenches of Indiana basketball might be the heaviest trenches of any team. Every game needs an overreaction. Every single soundbite has to be analyzed. So it does feel like a heavier roller coaster than when you look back in the macro and say 3 tournaments in 4 years.
Yeah, not bad. And then he's supposed to. He's obviously an old fella, and he was always gonna be there for a short amount of time and hand it off to the next guy. Who is the next guy though? That's the question. Who is the next guy?
Got to make Brad Stevens say no.
I think he has, Rick. I think he has. I think that's the thing. He has.
We're letting. I'm not gonna say it.
We're trusting Goodman's reporting. So he needs to say no again.
Seriously, though, I have seen Otzelberger out of Iowa State start to pick up some steam lately. I think that would be a home run hire.
I would agree with
A
that.
guy who recruits the shit out of the Midwest, plays fast, fun, tempo basketball, surrounded by guard play. Great defensive team. I think he would be a slam dunk.
Yeah, a home run or a slam dunk? Which one? You said both.
Both.
There. Yeah, a slam dunk home run or a home run slam dunk?
Home run, slam dunk, touchdown even.
Okay, we're playing basketball.
I'm sorry, I thought this was a mostly sports studio.
Are you throwing your weight behind Otzelberger? Who do you want me to meme? You want me to meme Brad, but I can't.
We're still. Listen, there's a lot of talks going on the back channels. We're focused on Brad, but we're also looking at Otz.
Okay.
Another name I've seen mentioned, Byington out of Vandy.
Okay, yeah.
That might
just
also
the JMU connection.
My dumb brain sees JMU and thinks another Signetti.
Yeah. Scott Drew, that ship is sailed.
I don't think we could pry away Scott Drew at this point. I think he's set. I've
Hmm.
seen Cronin thrown around even.
Cronin's interesting. Cronin, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I threw out Scott Drew the other day just because like Baylor has fallen off a little bit. That's all. Baylor's like, I wouldn't be shocked if it's not going to surprise me. If Scott Drew did in fact go to IU, I wouldn't be like, "Oh shit, that kind of came out of nowhere" cuz Baylor's fallen off a little bit. But yeah, Cronin makes a lot of sense the more you look at it. I don't know how excited you should be for it.
It would be one of those kind of what you said with Woodson, like a high floor. Maybe not the highest ceiling.
Not the high. Yeah, it's like He's
like Otzelberger, I could see us winning back-to-back titles with dynasty type shit.
Dynasty type shit.
Cronin, I think would.
Cronin's a guy that like
for a Final Four.
When the hire happens, you'll be like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I don't know." And then as the seasons go on, you're like, "We got a good thing going."
Yeah,
here. Like every year we're in the mix. We got some good ball players coming through, and you talk yourself into it. But we'll cross that bridge later. In the meantime, the Hoosiers have to. Let me pull up the schedule. The Hoosiers
I'll tell you it right now. We got Penn
Let me
State
pull
at
it
the Hall
up.
tonight. We got Washington on the road, Oregon on the road.
Going to make the NCAA tournament unless maybe like the last game of the year. If that like tripped them up, that would be a disaster for IU.
That's another one of those games.
Who do they play? Oh, Ohio State. It says right here, March 8th, Saturday. Ohio State will be coming to Bloomington to avenge the bullshit loss in Columbus. And Ohio State, we got our backs against the wall as well.
Yeah.
Could be
What if that's a win and get in type game at Assembly Hall?
Oh,
Can you imagine
God.
the atmosphere?
Oh!
Can you imagine 5 banners at Assembly Hall staring down at you as 2 Big Ten teams vie for a shot in the big dance? Mark Titus, would we see you at Assembly Hall if that's the
I think I might have to go, Rick.
I think you'd have to.
I might have to do it. All right. He is White Boy Rick. He is an Indiana super fan. And maybe he'll be back on this show as the dream run from the Hoosiers unfolds and they're making their way to the Elite Eight, the Final Four this year. Or they'll probably just lose to Penn State.
Banner sick?
They'll probably just lose to Penn State tonight and be back on the
very,
wrong side
very
of the bubble.
realistic. But we're not thinking about that option right now.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks for having me, boys.
All right. Brandon fucking Walker.
There was almost disappointment in that all right. I didn't love the all right.
Here he is.
There we go.
You are the king of
Starkville.
overreacting to your college basketball team. I would say I'm up there though. We're
It's an overreactionary sport.
Yeah, we have a very similar approach to our teams, but on any given day, if I don't know what's going on with Mississippi State basketball, I can just sense your mood and get a feeling as to whether you got a big win last night or let Alabama make 22 threes and just completely blow you out of the gym, which was what happened most recently. So I assume you're probably not super high on Mississippi State right now.
So I am either all the way in or it is not currently basketball season in my mind. And I told you floated this idea weeks ago. I said, well, let's just time it right. And last week we beat Ole Miss in Oxford, and then we beat top 10
That's
Texas
right,
A&M.
yeah.
We broke both of the, I don't think either have won since. We broke both of those teams and nothing. And now this week we go to Oklahoma and we lose, and then Alabama beats us by 1,000. But I'm still – I think we have good in there. I think we have Sweet 16 potential.
Okay.
But when we don't play to our potential, we get destroyed.
What? So the most confusing thing about this Mississippi State team to me is the defense is just gone.
It's
and
weird.
that was a staple. That was a pillar.
Of
that
Chris
was
Jans.
I knew when I was turning on Chris Jan's games, it was going to be disgusting. But at least I knew what I was getting. And now, I don't really know what I'm getting on any given night.
Our first year, our first season under Jans, we won a lot of games 52-50. We won a lot of. I think we went like 26-4 to the under or something. And then he went out and got scoring. He went out in the transfer portal and got scoring. I don't know why that translated to losing the defense, because a lot of we're a veteran team. Cam Matthews is like the best defensive player in the SEC for the last 2 or 3 years, and they're giving up 90 to 100 points almost every time they lose now. And it's not every game. When we lock in defensively, we win. When we don't, we get destroyed. Yeah. And we don't a lot more than I ever thought we would. But again, I think it's in there somewhere, so I don't know.
What has this SEC season been like for a team that was 14-1 in non-conference, feeling pretty good about yourself, and then now you're going up against a historic SEC conference where you're racking up not a ton of losses, but you're
gonna go 9-9.
Yeah. You're having like a decent season in the SEC, but you're losing fairly regularly. But at the same time, you're in like a completely loaded. I asked Big T this question as well. But like, is this something that you've enjoyed? That you're like, wow, this is awesome that Mississippi State gets a marquee game, seemingly at least once a week, if not twice a week, or are you like, God damn it, I just want. Can you please just feed us some bottom feeders?
I'd much prefer a down SEC.
Yeah.
In the times that Mississippi State has enjoyed success in basketball and football over the last 30 years, every time we rise to the top, the commentary about the SEC is, well, Mississippi State's winning it. It's a down SEC. I would suck a dick for a down SEC right now. I would love a down SEC. I would love to be able to go to Alabama and not have to worry about them being a national title contender. I'd love to. There was a season for Mississippi State in football in 2010, we went 8-4, and we looked like an average team, and we lost to 4 top 10 teams by 1 score in our own division. and like that's where I didn't want to replicate that in basketball, yet here we are.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
and there's a huge separator, and like I almost welcome the NCAA tournament. I almost welcome it to be like, wow, how tough is the SEC? Are we going to get to the NCAA tournament and look across and see? I'm just going to throw a team out, for example, Iowa State or somebody with a high seed from another conference, and be like, wow, they wouldn't have lasted at all in our league.
Yeah,
are we like, or is it possible we're the 11th best team in the country and also the 9th best team in the SEC? Mm-hmm. I just wonder these things.
So you're doing
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But
I'm doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're there with the SEC fans.
Because
you have earned it. As much as I want to shit on like the bravado from the. I mean, it was a dominant non-conference, dominant.
Yeah, we went to Memphis, beat the shit out of them.
Oklahoma started 13-0. They're not gonna make the tournament anymore. If I'm them, I'm raising hell. Like so we lost to the SEC every night. That's you guys right now. You've lost like 8 of 12, but
yeah. Well, A, we haven't lost 8 of 12. B, we're going to finish 9-9 in the SEC.
Lost 8 of 13. What do you want me to say?
Huge difference.
That's that is a big difference.
Mistake.
Huge difference. Not even close.
That is a big difference.
But that's the point. You guys started off incredible, and now you've lost 8 of 13. You've got to be looking across the line, being like,
yeah, but what are
not
those?
In the SEC.
I think we have one of those losses that I would look back and say, boy, we should have won that one. Like we went to Oklahoma, didn't have a great, a great approach, and kind of got beat there in the second half. But what are you talking about? You're talking about losing at home to Alabama, losing on the road to Auburn, losing on the road to Tennessee, losing to Florida, losing like it's fucking tough, and it is miserable to be in like the middle of February looking for that break on the schedule. You know, that break on the schedule where you get 3 straight games against bad teams, and we don't have it. We don't have it at all. It
doesn't exist. Yeah, because even like South Carolina still hasn't won in the conference, right?
They won.
They did win?
Yeah, they beat who they beat?
Texas.
Yeah.
They beat Texas?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
By 15.
Yeah, like I guess that's a good example. Like South Carolina, I've been saying that about them all year, which is like not a compliment, but it like for being the worst team in a league, they're pretty.
They scare the shit out of the team.
Yeah.
Big Cat just sat in here and talked about how Clemson is a team that he could see making a run. People forget South Carolina beat
the worst
Clemson.
team in the SEC beat Clemson, beat the second best team in the ACC. I have a surprising take about all this, Brandon. You might find this surprising.
Yeah.
I think the SEC fans having conference pride about this basketball season is fine by me. I think I'm okay with it. Now,
I have a surprising take about it too.
I think a conference that is so dominated by football that to be one they've earned the right because it's not a mirage like the SEC has. They demonstrated it over and over and over again, like all these teams in the SEC in the non-conference. But 2, to have a football conference full of a bunch of schools that frankly have not given a fuck about basketball for a very long time suddenly caring, and it's in football it's annoying as fuck. In basketball, I do feel like the SEC as it stands right now is a little bit of an underdog. So to see this emergence onto the national scene like this, it's a cool story. Now, it's going to be annoying as fuck when next year rolls around and you're not as good and the whole thing continues and suddenly every SEC fan is like, we run this sport. That's going to be annoying.
I don't think you're going to get that.
But right now, I do think it's deserved and I don't have a problem with it.
But I don't think Joe SEC fan is really pumping his chest as much about this as he should, because Joe SEC fan, if you gave him a choice of attending an Elite Eight game with his team in it or attending his spring game with good seats, I think he's still taking the spring football game. Like Alabama right now, if you went to Tuscaloosa and said you can host Duke in an Elite Eight game on March 29th, the same day as your spring football game, to see your new transfer quarterback. They don't have a new one, but I'm just using an example. New transfer quarterback, I think they're like, well, how good's he look? How are his receivers? That's what they would say.
Would you rather host every game in the NCAA tournament or host every 5-star in football on a recruiting visit?
Not even close.
Just on a recruiting visit.
There's 3 teams in the SEC that would answer that to the basketball side.
Yeah.
Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like Vanderbilt would answer it like that. But otherwise, it's not even close. So while the SEC has earned it on the court, I still feel like the SEC's bravado and the SEC fans' acceptance of this and moving this to where it should be in their mind is lagging behind.
Yeah. It'll catch up, though. I think it'll. Auburn's an interesting one. They've become a. They've kind of become a basketball school.
Yeah, they've embraced it, and Alabama
never will.
They never will.
No matter, they'll be good at basketball, but it can never. It can never be a.
Florida won 2 national titles, and they would still choose football all day over. Of course, they were also winning football national titles at the exact same time. But
I'm not saying Auburn cares more about basketball than football. I feel like
I think it's about even.
It's getting
closer.
It's getting closer. If they
Tennessee's not close.
Yeah.
Even though they should be.
I'm trying to think of who else.
Texas.
Where's Mississippi State?
Huh?
What's Mississippi State? I mean,
so Mississippi State.
You have a better shot at
Mississippi State's fan base is different, man. Mississippi State fan base embraces negativity at every turn, and we absolutely hunt out the negativity, and it's something I'm trying to fight. But
you're trying to fight.
Chris Jans has, that's how bad it is. Chris Jans is about to make the tournament for his 3rd time, and if you listen to some of our online fan base, you listen to a lot of our online fan base, we need to start looking around because this isn't acceptable. Losing in the first round of the tournament, I'll accept it all day, every day. Do you remember what we were a decade ago?
Yeah.
It was fucking awful. Ben Howland couldn't win.
The problem with since we're talking about football schools and their basketball programs and all that, the thing that pisses me off about Ohio State fans is they just simply don't pay attention and then pop their head up in January and they're like, "What's our record? Oh, fuck that, dude! Fire the coach!" And they have no idea anything about anything really. And I imagine that goes on at a lot of these schools as well. Fire Chris Jans. You're like, for what? And it's like, because we're 19-9. That we deserve to be better.
We also have a weird thing at our school, which the one sport that has won is the national title is baseball, and we have a lot of our fans think it's a baseball school, even though that just doesn't exist in America because baseball's not as nearly as it's not a 1,000th as big as football, not 100th as big as college basketball, but that's another thing that we fight. It's a lot going on down there.
So Josh Hubbard,
I thought he would take the leap this year into like one of the top 15 players in the country, and sometimes he does.
Sometimes he does, yeah.
Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. But I guess that's still a relatively young guy. Sophomore is still young in college basketball parlance, even though it doesn't feel like it is. What really hurt us was we went out and got a point guard transfer from Penn State, Kanye Clary, and he didn't make it past December. I don't know if he was injured or other reasons, but he's just not with the team anymore. So went out and got Josh Hubbard a transfer guy so he could settle into the scoring role, and now he's just right back into kind of doing everything.
I still say that he's the number one guy to me that could carry. Mississippi State's not a bad team, but Mississippi State, and you'll agree with this, not national title good. You don't watch Mississippi State and think that team is as good as all the national title contenders. But I think he's the.
But we could beat one on any given night.
Right. If I had to circle one guy who can carry a not elite team further in the tournament than they deserve to be, probably.
Yeah.
Be Josh Hubbard. It would be just like Josh Hubbard just going nuclear. And
I think he has March superstar potential.
Yeah.
He has. You look up on the first day and you're like, well, this Hubbard guy from Mississippi State scored 27, and then in the round of 32, he scored 35.
Yeah,
and then he might be something. So
he's not going to carry you to national title, but maybe he can do what Marquise Noel did for Kansas State.
That's right.
That run,
something
like that.
DJ Burns.
Where they didn't even make the Final Four, right? But everybody remembers that Marquise.
I thought they did.
Yeah, right. See.
They lost in the Elite Eight
to San Diego
State?
to Michigan State?
I don't remember.
No.
Wait, no.
This was the San Diego State.
Definitely lost. I was in Jersey.
They beat Michigan State.
I remember where I was. You sure they didn't make the Final Four?
They did not make the Final Four.
I know that they didn't make the Final Four. I was just checking with you.
They did not make the Final Four.
Are you sure, though?
This is, you know what, I'll look it up.
They lost to either FAU or San Diego State, right? It was that year, correct?
Kansas State. This was 2023, I believe.
Right?
23. They beat Michigan State in overtime.
Sure.
In the Sweet 16, and then they lost to FAU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's right.
There you
lost
go.
To FAU.
Brandon wins again.
Good job, everybody. It's good teamwork. All right. So,
bottom line, solid team, 5 seed, 6 seed. Could beat a 12, could beat a 4, and has the ability to beat a 1, but probably can't beat the 2 after that. I don't know if we can.
What will leave you saying, you know what? I actually did enjoy watching this team.
Sweet 16, I would.
Sweet 16, you'll look back and you'll be like,
what a year.
We took our lumps.
Yeah.
Some nights we looked like shit. Other nights we looked great.
Yeah.
But now that the dust has settled, that was fun.
I think right now it's a method of survival. It's a survive and get to the tournament, and then let's see what happens. Because once you get out of this SEC gauntlet, once you get into a situation where you win and advance,
yeah.
I think we stack up pretty well. Now he's got to get the defense back to where it ought to be.
Yeah,
and I think he will. I think Chris Jans was when we gave up 115 the other night to Alabama, he had that look like, all right, shit's about to change around here.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I think Alabama. I think they got 1 point for every dribble of the basketball. That's what it felt like.
But you know how coaches are. Sometimes it's like we just didn't. It wasn't our night, and then sometimes it's like some shit's about to change.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like that was. Every time you checked, it was like Bama had just scored 7 more points somehow.
Yeah. I do think
they crazy.
I think they were getting points for like practice shots. Like I think they were adding points during TV timeouts. I don't know where all the points came from.
22.
You shouldn't be able to score that many in 40 minutes.
I feel like the scoreboard guy like flicked the point thing and got stuck for a second.
It just kept
rolling.
Yeah.
Bama. All right, Brandon Walker. You can watch him on various things around Barstool Sports.
Including mostly sports.
Mostly sports, yeah. Good show. Good show you got there.
It's all right.
Good show. All right. All right, West Virginia superfan Nikki Klicki is here to talk about the Mountaineers' new coach this year.
Yes.
Darian DeVries, his son Tucker DeVries, coming over from Drake.
Right.
He got hurt. He was out Tucker's been out for really most of the season, but Javon Small playing All-American level basketball. The Mountaineers sit at 17-11. Right now, 8-9 in the Big 12. Probably will make the tournament, but kind of on the bubble. Where's your head at, Nick, with West Virginia as the calendar turns to March here?
Very happy it's a weak bubble year.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get the 10 seed, probably lose a heartbreaker to St. Mary's or New Mexico, 3 to 4 points. We're going to be excited we made the tournament. We're going to be excited our coach didn't get a DUI. And then he's going to leave us for Iowa.
All right, there it is. That's West Virginia basketball. Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
All right, handsome Hank Lockwood is here to talk about his beloved Duke Blue Devils, who I believe are probably the best team in the country. Probably. It's Duke and Auburn. I do think that's how everybody is framing this year of college basketball, is Duke and Auburn and then everybody else, and Duke is in that mix. First of all, explain why you're a Duke fan to everybody, because I think most people just assume you're doing it as a troll, as a bit of some sort.
No,
that's what I thought at first until you explained it to me.
Yeah, I was doing the Duke Patriots pick the best team troll. No, my Duke fandom is probably, when I was a little kid, I was probably the biggest Duke fan out of all of the teams, like the Boston sports teams, maybe Red Sox. My dad went to Duke, so growing up, always got the Duke gear for Christmas. We could not watch. I think in my house, after 6 o'clock, we couldn't watch TV unless Duke was playing. So that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I was excited for Duke to play because we could stay up, watch the Duke game. So growing up, I was a huge Duke fan. I remember there was a Coach K oral history oral history of the 2001 Duke championship team that I did a book report on like 5 different times. Like that was the book that I read, and every time I had to do a book report in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I just would run it back with that book. So I read it many times for that reason. And yeah, that was kind of, I was just a huge.
So if it was any other team, no one would question it. If your dad had gone to Illinois and you grew up an Illinois fan, no one would be like, you're a douchebag for cheering for Illinois. It's just that you just happen to be lucky, but also unlucky in the sense that everybody thinks it's a troll that you're cheering for Duke. But
but it's like I started working at Barstool, I was an idiot, 19-year-old, 20-year-ld, and they're like, how are you?
Yeah, of course you're a Duke fan.
Of all the teams, and I understand the irony in that, like Duke is a very nerdy school, and me coming in being like, I fucking love Duke. Everyone was like, this makes no sense. Like you're such a front runner, but there is, a legitimate reason.
There's a legitimate reason. So talk to me about this team. Cooper Flagg has been as good as advertised, like as good as we hoped he would be coming into the season, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he's fucking awesome. He's absolutely awesome. The ACC sucks though, and I think it's interesting because Duke is very obviously one of the better teams, but in a weird way, because the SEC is so strong, we have a situation going into the NCAA tournament where people are looking at an Auburn team, which no disrespect to Auburn, but as a program, Auburn hasn't really done. They've made one Final Four. They haven't really done much of anything over the course of their existence. Meanwhile, Duke is fucking Duke. And somehow we've ended up in a spot where everybody's like, oh yeah, Auburn, they're national title good because they're fucking Auburn and they're battle tested. Duke is being treated like Gonzaga, like, yeah, they look good now, but can we really trust them in March? And it's just like breaking my brain that Duke is being treated like they don't have the horses to compete in the NCAA tournament. How have you like where's your expectation and your optimism levels and all of that, knowing that yes, Duke is loaded with talent. You have the best player in the country probably if I don't know if he's going to win National Player of the Year, but number 1 pick, all that shit. But at the same time, you're playing nobody in the ACC.
And I feel like historically, when Duke is the best team in the country, they don't perform in the tournament. Like I think their tournament runs, they the Zion year, like undisputed number 1, super fun to watch all year. Got to the tournament, almost lost to UCF, lost in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
The JJ, go back to the JJ Redick, Sheldon Williams years, like undisputed number 1 team, don't win the championship. Like I also am a huge fan of underdogs, plus signs. It's the NCAA tournament is the ultimate, like, the front runners rarely win. And I think the line on the DraftKings Sportsbook is Duke or Auburn minus 185 versus the field.
That's crazy.
And if it wasn't, or maybe it's Duke or Auburn is like the field is minus 185. That I like that. Like as if it wasn't Duke, I would feel like it's the NCAA tournament. The ACC sucks.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the NCAA tournament. All it takes is one team, one matchup, their offense lines up against our defense, whatever it may be. I feel like it's going to be like everyone's just, writing them in for the national championship, and that never works with March Madness.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And especially when the ACC tournament's like, usually you're going to have to battle through the ACC tournament.
So you're not particularly. I don't want to say you're not optimistic, but you don't have like a bravado of like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking wreck everybody.
I think in March that's impossible. Like you never do that with March Madness.
You're just nervous. You're just cautiously optimistic. That's how everyone's attitude.
Yeah, and the last time this happened, which is when the original cap bet, like the Zion Williamson year, it was like that's when you're the same level of cockiness. We're so stacked. It's only a matter of time we're gonna win the national championship, and that was a battle even to make the Elite Eight. And then they lost in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. This team, I think this team's better. I do. I think this team has no weaknesses. That's not to say they're perfect. That's not to say that I believe, and I could be very, very wrong, but I believe that if every team in the NCAA tournament brings their A-plus game, Duke wins the NCAA tournament. I believe so. That's my way of saying they are the best team. It's just, things happen. But the defense, Duke is what makes Duke so good to me is the defense. You have so much fucking length, size. You could switch everything when Malik Brown is healthy, especially, and he's out there, and you're just switching every single screen, and everybody can guard everybody. And then on top of it, you have maybe the second, third, fourth best offense in the country, and scorers everywhere and shooters everywhere. And I think when I look back on like the Zion team, yes, they were loaded, but they couldn't really shoot. The defense wasn't awesome. They didn't have really big guys. They just had like a freak of nature in Zion, and then also RJ Barrett, and then Cam Reddish was like sort of there, but he's being misused. And it was like a weird team. So I think I'm more optimistic on this team than that team, but I am worried about the ACC schedule. That's a real fear, is that the 3 losses that Duke has had this year have been close games at the end, and you're like, oh shit, what do we do here? And then you turn the ball over and lose.
Yeah, don't you think there's something to being tested? Being tested in the regular season, the ACC like tournament, that's not really going to happen. And all it takes is that one game where it's close. And like you said, their 3 losses have all been close games. All their wins have been basically blowouts. They get to the tournament, buttholes get tight, gets down the stretch. That's where it's tough. Again, I'll be pulling for Duke, but I don't like the position of being a front runner in March Madness, where
I'm surprised by this.
It's
I'll
only
be honest.
a matter of time. It's different, it's different when it's the Patriots or even the Celtics, where it's like we're the best team. But those tournaments, those playoffs, are the best teams win. March Madness, that rarely happens.
How is White Boy Rick more excited about the Indiana Hoosiers heading into March than Hank seems?
Well, White Boy Rick is he lives, breathes, and dies.
Rick is like, the Hoosiers are back. We're gonna win. We're gonna. All right. Well, that's good. That's a good perspective, because I feel like Duke might just be hiding in plain sight. That's the term I keep using. Is like, nobody needs you to explain to them that this Duke team is good. It's just everyone focuses on the SEC this year. And then there's also like the Big Ten isn't as good, but like obviously it's a massive conference, so there's a lot of chatter, good, bad, or otherwise, about the Big Ten. And it's like, what if when the dust settles, Duke just kind of,
I don't think anyone would be surprised.
Just kind of like cruise to a national championship. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. If nothing else, Cooper Flag will be a lot of fun. I think Final Four. I said this to Big T, that Big T said he'd be more surprised. Or Duke has a better chance of missing the Final Four than winning the national championship, and I thought that was fucking insane. So I would actually be very surprised if Duke is not at least in the Final Four. But once they get there, who the hell knows?
I kind of agree with Big T, but I
oh my God, am I the biggest Duke fan at Barstool? I might be. I might be. All right, thanks, Hank. All right, thank you to all my coworkers, every single one of them. That's it. I think everybody that came on the show is everybody that works here at the office. Mm-hmm. There's nobody that works here that didn't come on the show. No, there were a handful of others. We had some scheduling conflicts with some people, but I thought that was a fun show. I don't know. It's interesting to see how other people are feeling about their teams.
Do you think anyone's set up for heartbreak after doing those conversations?
I don't know. Big T. I think Big T is in a spot where, like, he should be, because Big T was trying to downplay how much he expects out of this Tennessee team, because I think he's a realist and he realizes that the most likely scenario is they're going to go 3 for 26 from the 3-point line in the Sweet 16, and lose, and that's how their season will end. But they've never been to a Final Four. This has been a historic run of Tennessee basketball, where they have gotten closer some years than others. Like, obviously last year they had a team that was very much good enough to make the Final Four. They just ran into Purdue and Zach Edey, unfortunately. But he was trying to like downplay. He's like, you know what, if we don't make it, it's fine. It's what
Would you?
It's kind of his attitude, where he's just sort of like, he was like, I'm not going to let the tournament. How did he say it? Like, I'm not going to let the tournament dictate my happiness of the season, or something like that. Which I think is the healthy way to approach it. I would say Big Cat's the one, though. Big Cat pretend like he internally is excited. I think he internally sees what everybody else sees with this Wisconsin team. There's a reason I've said Wisconsin, I think, is the best chance for the Big Ten, and it's because of the guard play. It's because their guards. He likes Maryland. Maryland starting 5 as a whole, as a unit, is probably better than Wisconsin starting 5. But when push comes to shove, he made the point himself. When push comes to shove and shit's hitting the fan and you need playmakers to just go out and make plays, John Tonji's the best one the Big Ten has. And so for that reason alone, and then also you have Blackwell and Klesmit, and you have they have other role guys that know their roles well, and they can all shoot threes and everything. That's why I believe in Wisconsin. He sees what I see. I think internally he's like, this team could be, if the draw is right, if the breaks, if everything breaks our way, I think Wisconsin could make a run, and I think he knows that, which is why he always says, then comes back full circle, and he's like, so you sickos are going to love it when I'm hurt or whatever, and then then that way when he is hurt, he could say, no, I saw this coming, you know what I mean? But I think internally he's like, yeah, this team's a little different, because they are. Wisconsin in 2015, they obviously came very close to winning the national championship, but I'm not saying this Wisconsin team is better than that one. They're not. But that Wisconsin team was a Wisconsin basketball team with more talent. But it felt like that team felt like every other Wisconsin team. except they were just more talented. Like when you watch them play, they're walking the ball up the floor, they're running the swing offense. It's like these are Bo Ryan Wisconsin staples. It's just we now have 2 NBA players and also a ton of talent and around them. This year's team is not that, and that I think that's very interesting. Is that this year's team pushes tempo a little bit? They shoot a fuck ton of threes. They make them all. And then John Tonji is that dude right now. So I think it's gonna be him. I think by the time the bracket comes out, the guy who is going to be the most confident and most set up for heartbreak will be Dan Katz. Anyway, let's wrap some stuff up. Get out of here. Should we do Ohio State thing? I guess. I guess you and I are both Buckeyes.
Let's do the Buckeyes.
I guess if we're letting everyone else talk about their team, should we do a quick state of our team?
Ohio State of the Union.
Not good. Not good. Yeah, I mean, on the whole, I know we just beat USC. We just held on against USC last night. But yeah, are you pushing back on that? This is not.
No.
Like, we should make I said all season we're going to make the tournament. It wasn't even a question to me. And then Northwestern held us to 49 points on our home court in a game you just simply could not lose, much less lose by that much to that team. Yeah, I don't. I know the bracketologists are saying we're still in the mix, we're still in the bubble, and of course there's a path. but the vibes are not good right now, I would say.
Yeah, I would say last night took me completely full circle from the beginning of the year. We shot 70% against Texas, so we could hold on to beat them by 8.
Yeah,
and then last night we shot 75% in the first half, so we could hold on to beat UCLA in the last minute. So I would say this: if the Buckeyes shoot 75%, I like our chances to win a tournament game.
Yeah, we have not made the tournament since 2022. That's when we lost to Villanova, right? In the second round, we beat Loyola, I think, and then we lost to Villanova with the booty ball, with the fucking booty ball, fucking Archidiacono. Yeah. No, it was Colin Gillespie, not Archidiacono. It was the other white boy for Villanova. It was Colin Gillespie and his booty ball, like backing us down. And
second round, yeah.
Fucking, god damn it. I'm getting flashbacks to that. But yeah, we haven't made the tournament since 2022. This is the first time. I pulled the stat the other day. Ohio State has not missed 3 straight tournaments since 03 to 05. But 05, as you remember, we were ineligible for the NCAA tournament because of violations or something. So you have to go back to like the early 90s, I think, the last time Ohio State was eligible for 3 tournaments in a row and missed all 3 of them, which I wasn't an Ohio State guy then. So this is new ground for me. I am spiraling. I am at rock bottom. I don't know if I'm going to put on this headset again, man, if we miss the tournament. I'm going to just go full Tom Brenneman. I'm bro. I really am, and I care about Ohio State basketball more than I care about just about anything outside of my family. And we fucking suck, and it pisses me off. And I just want to make the tournament, and I feel like I have pretty realistic expectations. And yeah, of course, I want to get back to a point where we're competing for Big Ten championships and going to Final Fours and shit like that. But I think at the bare minimum, I just want to make the tournament. I honestly do kind of forget what it's like to see a bracket with Ohio State in it. And that's why this year 1 for Jake Diebler, I thought going into the year we might have the best backcourt in the Big Ten. And it feels crazy as the season has progressed that I would have thought that. I still, looking back on it, don't think that was that insane to believe.
But
I don't think it was that insane to believe that we should have had the best backcourt in the Big Ten.
But your premise had nothing to do with who's ended up being our best guard in Mobley. You're saying it was because we were coming in with Thornton and Michi?
It was Michi, it was Thornton, it was Mobley was
he was a part of it,
he was going to come off the bench and be like, you're bringing that guy off the bench, a great shooter, a star freshman. Micah Parrish, who's like, a forward or a guard, to swing guy obviously, but I just thought that we had a ton of depth and a position in the Big Ten that frankly didn't have a ton of depth. So I was like, yeah, I think Ohio State's in a good spot because the guard play is going to be great. Obviously, the big guys aren't that good, but like, our guards are going to carry us. And then Michi disappears. Bruce just can't get over the hump to save his life. He's so good some nights, but he just doesn't have the dog in him seemingly. But at the same time, like, I fucking love the guy, but it blows a wide open bunny against Michigan, airballs it at the buzzer. So yeah, it's been a very, very frustrating season for Ohio State. I think most people that follow my show and follow college basketball are like, yeah, who gives a fuck? You guys are irrelevant. Why are you talking about them? Why would you think otherwise? It wasn't always this way, man. That's why I think otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't always this way. Once upon a time, we were good, and that's when I was indoctrinated.
Yeah.
So I was forced to care when not forced to. I very much enjoyed it, but I was initiated into Ohio State basketball at a pretty good time.
Yeah, you're in.
Pretty good time.
You're right now. I'm on the pulse of Ohio State Twitter in just every aspect, and they are just clamoring for what they're calling the golden age, which starting in 08-09, we made the tournament, I think 7 straight years, made a national championship, going to the Final Four, even, Elite 8, Sweet 16. That was the expectation.
Yeah.
And now we're
won the Big Ten tournament like every other year, seemingly. Like, we won the Big Ten regular season fairly often. Yeah, and I don't even want that, dude. I just want to make the tournament. That was it. That's all I feel.
You think we are?
No.
What? Okay, but then with what reason?
I don't.
With what reason?
With what reason? We're not good.
No. Don't get me wrong. We swung and missed in the transfer portal. Absolutely. Michi Johnson played 10 games. Bradshaw's missed 10 games. We didn't hit on anybody. We have no post presence. We're tiny out there.
Yeah.
Even in like, hey, backs to the wall. We just lost to Michigan, but we're still in the tournament. We just got to handle our business. We get beat by fucking 20 to Nebraska or to Northwestern, but Mark, the path is there.
The path is there.
So
there's a world, and I think we can make the tournament if that's what you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. No, I can't pretend like I believe we're going to make the tournament.
Okay.
The Northwestern was a moment for me where I just took a big step back and was like, I say this fairly often when I'm ranting about Ohio State, and this will be my final point, and we can end this show. I remember when I was on the team, how many times Coach Mata would in a locker room setting, in a huddle setting, he would just scream, "I can't care more than you." That's what he would say. He would just say, "I can't care about this more than you," and that's how I feel about Ohio State basketball. And I'm watching the Northwestern game, and that was the night that the USA hockey game was going on, and I remember that was like the lead up to the USA hockey game. So I was like looking at it like, this is gonna be a great sports night. I get to watch this awesome hockey game, but before that happens, I'm gonna watch Ohio State Northwestern. It should be a ho-hum win for us. Should be fairly straightforward. Northwestern's not complete dog shit, but like, they're not good. They're not a good team. We're playing at home. It's a must-win game. We'll be fine. And we lost by what, 20? 21.
Yep.
Scored 49 points.
70-49.
And at some point during the second half, when the first half was dog shit for us, but then you're hoping that there's a speech, there's a come to Jesus moment at halftime, and they come out in the second half and play a little better. And at some point in the second half, those were the words that are rattling around in my head. I can't care more than you. I'm watching the game, and I was like, I think I care about this more than the players do. I can't do that to myself. So I took a step. That's not like I've given up on the team or whatever else, but I can't pretend like I don't have it in me right now to be like, let's just go fucking beat Nebraska. We beat Indiana. We win the Big Ten tournament, and we're in. I'm like,
I need you.
No, I'll change once we get closer and like we get, but like right now, there's no reason to be optimistic that we're going to figure this out.
100%.
We have Devin Royal's great. I love him, but he's 6'6".
You can't be a 6'6".
He's a 6'6".
Post,
yeah,
our
yeah.
number one post.
I like Devin Royal a lot. No, there's nothing against him, but the only way we're gonna win games is we need Micah Parrish. We basically need those 4 guys: Mobley, Thornton, Parrish, and Devin Royal to all play well.
Mm-hmm.
We can maybe beat a good team if we get 3 out of 4. If we only get 2 out of those 4 playing well, we're fucked against any team with a pulse.
Yeah.
If we get 1 out of 4, that's how we lose to Northwestern by 21.
Playing bad ball.
And it's just not, yeah. So I think there's a world Ohio State makes the tournament. We have a ton of losses, but we also played one of the hardest schedules in the country. That helps you to a certain extent, but I do think racking up losses, 15 losses is the most losses ever. To get an at-large bid. And we'll probably be right at that unless we run the table. We're gonna get a loss in the Big Ten tournament, so that'll be 14, and then
got to beat Nebraska and Indiana.
We beat Nebraska and Indiana. We'll only have 14. I think we're in. And then once we're in, like I'm back all the way in. You know what I mean? But like I can't. I don't know. I'll once the Big Ten tournament gets here and we're gonna just win this game and we're in that situation, I'll be back in.
If we win these next 2, we host Nebraska, which we should win at home against Nebraska on Wednesday or Tuesday. And then we go to Indiana and we win, you're going to be so in.
I'll be back in, yeah. I will be.
And then we're going to go to Dayton for the first 4, and then we're going to be hot, baby.
By the way, we had 12 losses, so we had to cross ourselves off the tarred and feather. We're officially off the national championship. By the way, I haven't done the update in a while, so I'll do this and we can end the show. Teams that have been crossed off since I've last announced the teams crossed off. Baylor, who has 12 losses. Most of them are just because you have too many losses. Baylor, Columbia, Cornell, Dayton, Florida State, Georgetown. Georgia's off because they have multiple 3-game losing streaks, even though they beat Florida. And I think Georgia's a good team. They have, since we've last done this, they have multiple 3-game losing streaks. Illinois is off for the back-to-back 20-point losses. Kansas is off because they lost by 34 to BYU, lost by 31 to Houston. Louisiana Tech has 9 losses. Miami of Ohio lost to Western Michigan, who was 3-16 on KenPom at the time. That was one of the criteria. Ohio State, I already said. Ole Miss has multiple 3+ game losing streaks now, so they're out. Oregon State, Princeton, Rhode Island, TCU, and UTEP and Villanova all have too many losses. And then Vanderbilt is out because they lost by 30 to Oklahoma, who was a poison team. So there you go. That's the update of teams that we've crossed off. I think we're down to like 40-something.
It's dwindling.
I
got nervous on the other night when Florida almost tarred and feathered themselves again.
Yeah.
They beat Georgia by 30 early in the year, and I look up on, was it Tuesday night, and they're down like 41-18 to start the game.
Teams we need to worry about are Missouri, Ole Miss, Baylor, Kansas, Illinois. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. Vandy, Georgia, as far as like the teams that are crossed off that I don't think any of those are winning national.
Clarifying question, maintenance question. When does the list get set? Does conference tourneys factor into the list?
Yeah, the list is set when the bracket comes out because then we're obviously going to cross off any team that doesn't make it.
We'll cross them out.
And then it's on.
Okay, so if you get beat by 30 in your conference tourney, you can still be – that can tar you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the list is set once the bracket the final cut is like, did you make the NCAA tournament? If you don't make the NCAA, every team that's won the NCAA tournament has made the NCAA.
Add that. You should add that criteria.
That's one of the criteria.
Add that.
You have to make the NCAA tournament.
Special criteria.
All right, that's the show. We'll be back on Monday. March is here. March will be here on Monday. A lot of fun basketball over the weekend to watch, and it's been a great season. This has been a great college basketball season. It's been so fun. It's about to get even more fun. The tournament is perfect. I mean, Big Cat said it that I think the way it's situated right now to have Auburn and Duke as kind of in a tier of their own, but they're not unbeatable. That's a perfect scenario. That's a perfect. You want the juggernauts. You want to go into a tournament knowing these are the giants we're trying to slay, but at the same time you want them to be slayable, if that's a word. You want to see the vision that, like, yeah, of course, yeah, I have to watch the second round game between Duke and whoever that, like, if maybe Gonzaga's like an 8 seed, because Gonzaga could conceivably beat Duke. It's not fun when it's a world where it's like, yeah, they're just gonna fucking crush everybody. So I think we're gonna get that this tournament. It's going to be awesome, and first we got to deal with the conference tournaments, and first we got to deal with the regular season conference races, which are the Big Ten, and Big Ten's the most interesting one, but. Yeah, still a lot of basketball left. I'm very, very excited. Thank you to all my coworkers who joined us, and thank you to those of you watching and listening. We'll be back on Monday. See you guys.